Yay! It is September. It is almost time for Santa. Da-da. Oh, wait. I've still got a few more months, don't we? Let me stop being silly. My goodness. It is so great to see everyone this evening. I hope you had a great Labor Day. We are into the holiday season, or at least the federal holidays. Dun, dun, dun. Let me stop. I'm being silly. I know our Toastmaster of the day is ready to take us on quite a journey today. So I'm going to relinquish control of the lectern to our awesome Toastmaster, Kim, if you would take it away, my friend.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first Toastmasters meeting of the month. News flash. It is September. Can you feel it? That little chill in the air, that subtle whisper that says sweater weather is coming. Can you smell the pumpkin spice, ladies? Can you hear the crackle of the fire? Tonight's theme is Welcome to the Burr Months. As we step into the last third of the year, September, October, November, and December, all ending in a chilly little burr. Let's lean into this time with warm hearts, sharper skills, and cool confidence. Before we get into our speeches, for those of you that didn't see the adjustment, we have one speaker and one evaluator for tonight versus two that we originally set out to achieve. So we'll have a little more time for table topics. Also, a friendly reminder, if you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute and silence any nearby devices. Now let's meet our fabulous team of functionaries who will support the flow of our meeting. Functionaries, as I call on you, you know what to do. For the thought of the day, bringing us a smile, Phyllis.
This comes to us courtesy of a visit I made to Goldmine Toastmasters on Saturday. It's the story of the empty boat. A monk decides to meditate alone, away from the monastery. He takes his boat and goes out into the middle of the lake. He closes his eyes and he begins to meditate. After a few hours of unperturbed silence, he suddenly feels the blow of another boat hitting his boat. With his eyes still closed, he feels his anger rising. And when he opens his eyes, he's ready to shout to the boatman who dared to disturb his meditation. But when he opened his eyes, he saw it was an empty boat, not tied up, just floating there in the middle of the lake. At that moment, the monk achieves self-realization and understands that the anger is within him. It simply needed a hit for an external object to provoke it. After that, whenever he meets someone who irritates him or provokes his anger, he remembers the other person is simply an empty boat. The anger is inside him. This story is a Zen Buddhist parable teaching about self-reflection and the importance of recognizing the source of one's emotions. Serves as the reminder to look within oneself, recognize the role of your own thoughts and emotions in shaping your experience. Notice the empty boats. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
And our grammarian for the day, helping us use language more powerfully, Joe.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, As grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listen carefully to their language, and I'll take note of any improper language as well as outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. I will give the grammarian's report when called upon during the meeting and also report the usage of the word of the day. So I asked a friend in the medical field to help me think of a word of the day, and naturally she said something medical. She said claudification. I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Intense pain in the legs." And I said, "Yeah, let's go with epitome." Let's go with epitome. Because I don't see claudification coming up in conversation very much. So, definition of the word epitome, it is a noun meaning a person or thing that is a perfect example of a particular quality or type. Example sentence. In the scrap industry, bare bright copper is the epitome of perfection. Because as you can see, it's very shiny, very clean. When you sell this and they'll melt it down and try to make more copper, you get 100% return. They're not going to get any debris. It is the epitome of perfection. But bonus points if you guys find a use for claudification in this meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
And for catching our verbal crutches, our all counter this evening is Melissa.
You, Madam Toastmaster. I will be looking for all those little filler words that we use when we get a little nervous or our brain is buffering. Those so's, those ahs, those likes, you knows, kinda, like, sorta, you know what I mean. We'll also be trying to be the epitome of nitpicky, though I may fail you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
And for the last of our functionary roles, keeping us punctual and polished, our timer this evening is Sandy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My role as timer this evening is to be the epitome of preciseness in allowing all of our timed speakers the visual indication of where they are in their speech. For our speaker number one, Janine, I do not know your time frame for that. So if you could text that to me in the chat, that would be great. But I will give you the green background. Oh my gosh, it's not working. Hold on. I will give you the green background at the beginning of your speech. When you reach the halfway point in your speech, you will see the yellow background. And okay, you will see the yellow background. And at the end of your speech, you will see the red background. I will get this fixed before the first speakers. The same holds true for our table topics. We all strive to reach 1 to 2 minutes. So the green will appear at 1 minute. The yellow will appear at 1.5 minutes, and the red will stay up until the end of your table topics. Our evaluators this evening, Tony will have the green at 2, the yellow at 2.5, and the red at 3. Melissa, Joe, and myself, I will time for our 1 minute summation at the end of the meeting when it was called for reports. And Carlos, you have 3 to 5 minutes for your general evaluation this evening of the group. At the end, we will hopefully all be precise in our timing. Thank you, Janine. I got your chat.
Thank you, everyone. And now it's time to hear from our speaker tonight. Please welcome Janine, who will be delivering a speech from her Speech with Purpose project. Today is Janine's second speech in the Visionary Communication Pathway. It is a writing a speech with a purpose project. The title is, Can You Sing? She is not asking, are you a singer? But can you sing? Janine hopes you hear the purpose of being able to sing and not a singer. Let's give her our full attention, encouragement, and a warm round of virtual applause.
Fellow Toastmasters, I'm not going to embarrass anyone by asking you to do a show of hands yet, but I am going to ask you to think about my speech title. Can you sing? Just think about that while I speak. Got it? Because I believe we all can sing. I think that's something we all know how to do. And I'm going to tell you why. Because let's get started with what it is. First of all, it is the act of making noise with our voice. That's all. It's a joyful noise. So now, let's see a raise of hands. Who can make a joyful noise? I can. Joyful noise, la, 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 la. It is the epitome. Anyone can do that. A bird, a dog, a cat. Anyone can make a joyful noise. In fact, it has been happening for a very long time. Back in 1999, a professor, Joe Copperman, from the, I'm going to forget it, but I think I got it now. Nope, forgot it. Some university in Appleton, Wisconsin. It was a music conservatory. He said that he traced it back to 3500 BC was where they could find, by their digging and stuff, the first signs of music being done, vocal music that is, being done by humans. Wow, people singing, moving, dancing, 3500 BC. That is pretty great. And since that time, there's been lots of reasons why. And here are 5 that I'm going to highlight. 1, it's a form of communication. 2, it helps you memory and memorization. 3, it's impossible to do something else while you're singing. 4, it usually invokes some form of communication. And 5, it helps with memorization. So let me give you an example. Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special orders don't upset us. I think I got 2. I see a couple smiles. Or maybe that was because I probably shouldn't have said that before dinner. Memories and emotions and form of communication. How about this one? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop. See a couple more smiles. I see a couple more laughs. Again, emotion, communication, memory. This one should get everybody. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Need I go on? How did we learn our alphabet? Memorization. Everybody knows how to do that and learn that. Jingles, it helps you memorize things. It helps you get it. But it also causes reactions, emotions, like I said, smiling, happy feelings. It also does sometimes cause coughing and physical reactions. It also causes the dreaded, I don't know if this is a physical term, I couldn't find it anywhere, the earworm. All of a sudden, that song can't get out of your head. The ABC song now, right now, that one is swimming in the back of my head going, Have you ever gone where you're in the choir and you're trying to sing and you've got a song and you are trying to sing it? Well, you're trying to sing and concentrate singing with your teammates. Can you carry on a conversation? No, you can't. Can you watch TV while you're singing? No, you can't. Hopefully you're not trying to sing and drive a car. Well, maybe that's a little different because you're singing along with the radio. But it's difficult to sing and do that. There's also a time where when you want to memorize something, they say put it in song. All good things, and you remember it easier. Music, singing, and just saying helps you feel good, brings good emotions. So unless you're in there, and it's also social and it's good for you. So unless you're singing in the shower or in the car by yourself, it is socially acceptable and good to do. So memorization, hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, give us good times and good emotions and helps you bring you together. Communication, it brings you with everyone. So I present to you again that everyone can sing. It doesn't have to be the epitome of a singer, because remember, I didn't ask, are you a singer or can you be a singer? I asked, can you sing? So let's do it this time with a show of hands. And I hope everyone raises their hand. Can you sing? Let's see. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Janine. What a fantastic speech. Maybe one of the questions could be, do you sing joyfully? And the answer in my case is certainly no. For everyone, let's take about a minute to write down any feedback in the chat to Janine. And I'm going to go ahead and start that timer now. All right, everyone, with our minds warmed up, let's embrace the unexpected and move into table topics, the portion of our meeting where we practice impromptu speaking. Leading us through this chili challenge is our table topics master for the evening, the queen of pumpkin spice, Ashley.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I want to hop right into this amazing theme of cooler weather and leaves and just general coziness. So my first question is, if you were a fall flavor, would you be pumpkin spice, apple cider, or something else altogether? And why? Melissa.
Thank you, Ashley. If I could pick a scent for fall, it wouldn't be what comes to mind automatically. And if you're Southern, you might know what I'm talking about when the weather starts to cool down and the South starts to smell less like the devil's armpit and more like fresh air. All of a sudden, the air is crisp and clean, and you can smell the dirt, and it almost smells like it's raining all the time. You get that little hint of rain. The leaves crunching beneath you almost have a scent to them as well, and it's very woodsy and clean and almost like sandalwood, but just way more brisk. The coolness of that scent, of that cleanness, is one of my favorite things about fall because I feel like I can take a deep breath and not die. So my favorite scent would be fresh air. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Melissa. I love the genuineness of that answer. I could feel it in the way that you described it, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Next, I have, if pumpkins could talk, what do you think they would say about being carved every October? Thomas.
I think pumpkins would have a lot to say about being carved, but unfortunately, we kind of removed their insides. So I think the first thing they would say is, "Ah, you're cutting me open, you're cutting me, oh, you're pulling my guts out, the humanity, the pumpkin humanity." Other than that, I think they would enjoy the togetherness it brings, because a lot of families' first interaction with knives together is around a pumpkin. So there's a lot going on there. If you have little ones, and you're trying to help them carve a pumpkin, you're doing most of the work, but you're also teaching and learning and, okay, let's make a plan. What do you want it to look like? But then you're also teaching about the safety of the pumpkin and carving. And then you also get to learn about, oh, well, what is all this stuff inside the pumpkin? And what are these seeds all about? So even though pumpkins get disemboweled and their heads cut off and eyes cut into them, I think being part of that joy would bring them a lot of, I think they wouldn't mind, is what I'm trying to say. I think they would be willing to sacrifice themselves for us, knowing how much joy is brought. Some of my first memories of Halloween are of pumpkins on the kitchen table, and I mean, I can remember a goop up to my elbows, digging out. My arms were a lot smaller at that point, but reaching the bottom of the pumpkin and pulling out all the seeds, and then putting them in a bucket in the side. And I was like, oh, we get to eat those later. We get threw them in the microwave. Or sorry, we threw them in the oven and cooked them and baked them and seasoned them, and they were delicious. And we would eat them while we would watch our Halloween movies, and we'd stick our pumpkins outside on the porch and put light bulbs in them. So I think pumpkins would not mind at all. And I guess I speak for all pumpkins. I'm not the Lorax. I'm the pumpcax. I'm the pumpcax. I speak for the pumpkins. And they say, carve us up, eat us in pies, eat our seeds, enjoy time with your family and your loved ones. Thank you, Miss Tabletop Box Master.
Thank you, Thomas. I love everything about that answer, and I love imagining the pumpkins just screaming, ah, For a moment, I thought you were going to say you were the Pumpkin King, and I was going to just let you know that that's Jack Skellington. So, my next victim, I haven't decided yet. But here's the question. What's your coziest cold weather outfit? And how does it make you feel invincible against the chill? Tina.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm perplexed as I'm excited for the chillier weather because I enjoy wearing sweaters and turtlenecks. Covers a lot of sins. Women of a certain age. But my favorite thing was 2 sweatshirts that my dad had. And when he passed, I took them. Now, I do think they may have been women's sweatshirts to begin with. He was a little man and they fit him, but they're so cozy. And I can wear them with jeans or sweatpants or yoga pants. And I feel like a superhero in them because I get so much work done when I wear Dad's blue Hanes sweatshirt, crew neck. They're comfy. They last forever. I've been known to fall asleep in them and wake up in the morning and go, oh, well, look at that. And they have some sort of special temperature regulating factor because once again, women of a certain age get hot any time of the year. So I put these on and now It really is coming close to my favorite day of the year, the day we turn the clocks back and we get an hour. I'm crazy. I think that this is the best day ever to gain an hour because by 5:30, I can be cozy and wrapped up in a blanket and just chill out and watch something on Netflix and chill. Thank you for letting me remember how cozy Dad's sweatshirt is. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Tina. So thank you very much for sharing that. Madam Toastmaster, do we have time for one more?
We have time for one short question.
I can manage that. Would you rather be stuck raking an endless pile of leaves or roasting marshmallows forever? And why? Kane.
I was worried that this might be one of those difficult would you rathers when you have to decide which torture would be less torturous. But my fellow Toastmasters, this one is easy. An ongoing joke between me and my partner Cody, we've been dating for 6 years now, is that I have been convinced, and still remain convinced, he's trying to unconvince me, but I'm still convinced, that nobody actually likes s'mores. It's a dumb dessert. Like, first of all, it's sticky, it's crumbly, the chocolate never melts correctly, and second of all, the worst part of the s'mores is holding your marshmallow in the fire until it gets that perfect golden brown. It takes forever. I'm an impatient girly. I always just stick it in and burn it. Now I got a cool light. And now my marshmallow kind of tastes like carcinogens, which I kind of like that bitter, nasty flavor. And then you have to make it into a s'more. It's just, oh, it's awful. So I don't want to do anything with that. I don't want to have marshmallows around my fire. I just want to enjoy my fire. So if I had to choose between eternally roasting a marshmallow, for what end? Because please don't give me a s'more. That's a dumb dessert and I don't want it. And I don't want to roast the marshmallow. I'll just stick it in and burn it. And then I'd have to stick it in and burn it again. And then just stick it in and burn it again. I would much rather rake leaves. The smell of decaying leaves, that beautiful, crisp, small smell of fallen leaves. Oh, it's kind of delightful. The decomposing of the earth. It's this nice regenerative cycle that happens. You could rake the leaves into a big pile, run back, run up and jump in it, and then you'd have to rake it again, and then run back and run up and jump in it. It might get boring and repetitive over time having to endlessly rake leaves, but I'd have a lot of fun jumping in those piles. A lot more fun than I would have roasting a stupid marshmallow. So if I had to choose one of those things, plus think of how strong my arms would be. I would much rather rake leaves and jump into piles for eternity. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Kane. My internet did not stay stable through the entire answer. However, I did gather exactly how you feel about s'mores. And I agree that I do kind of like the carcinogenic taste, however that word is pronounced. I get it. However, I have to admit to you that I would be very lazy and I would enjoy roasting my very burnt, very unappetizing marshmallows rather than rake leaves. But you made a good case for it, and I don't think that you're wrong. Thank you very much for dealing with my internet. I am going to hand it back over to our wonderful Madam Toastmaster Kim.
Thank you, Ashley, and for everyone that participated in those questions. It is very difficult to cut us off because that was entirely too much fun. Now it's time to shift to our evaluation portion of this meeting where we reflect and grow. Our evaluator is the epitome of confidence, clarity, and charisma. Everything we strive for in Toastmasters. Tony, I'll turn it over to you to provide an evaluation for Janine's speech.
Well, I'm not too sure about the charismatic part, but I'll take all the others. Janine's speech was to have a speech with a purpose. And for that, I think she indeed delivered in spades. She opened with a not question, explained where she was going, and then after the definition, she was able to hit us with the question. So I think the purpose there was met. According to the sheet here, it's to learn to deliver basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and present a well-organized speech. The speech was well organized. It got us to think, can you sing? And not sing well, as she kind of hedged around the bush. It is just, can you sing? And define multiple ways you could get into it. Now, for my evaluations, I usually don't do too good of parsing the content. I tend to focus more on the delivery. So that's where the second half of my evaluation will be going. You had a clear voice. I understood every word you said. I did not struggle with anything. So your voice was the epitome of clearness. You did have a few little stumbles here and there. And one thing I found a little distracting is it looked like I saw you talking like this, as if you were reading a speech down there, or there was something else that got your attention. So it looked like you were disconnected with the audience. However, towards the end, I noticed you did get back to talking to the camera for at least a minute there. So I think that's one thing to focus on, is try to get that focus on the camera. If you're working your speech off of something, notes or whatever, you might want to put the thing you're reading just beneath the camera so that you're forced to look at the camera instead of looking at a bit of speech. You consistently use gestures throughout the whole thing, and almost all the time your gestures were on screen so they could be clearly seen. A lot of them were useful. Some of them were just what I'll call generic, that they didn't really add to the content of the speech at all, just so you had something to move with your hands. So one thing to work on is to try to get more of your gestures to be in sync with the speech. You appeared to be very comfortable in front of the camera, although you did have a couple little glitches where it looked like you got lost. So I don't know if it's practicing more or just getting a more solid idea of what you're going to talk about. So overall, you did accomplish the goal of your speech. You wrote a good, coherent speech with a purpose, and you just need some work on the delivery at this point. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tony, for that thoughtful evaluation. I'd like to shift our meeting to hear from our general evaluator, Carlos, who will provide us with a holistic review of tonight's meeting. Carlos.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. First of all, fantastic job on your first time being a Toastmaster of the day. I think you did fantastic, and I'll get more on that here in a little bit. I want to start off by saying Tony, always on time with our meeting, and instead of 5:30 today, he described it as 17:30. Nice little detail using military time. And like I said, Kim, fantastic job. You kept everything flowing well. You had good energy, and you also updated us on the agenda and roles that were changed. That's a nice little detail, and thank you for doing that. Keeps us all on the same page. I like that you acknowledged and validated the person before you prior to continuing. I think that validates the person and makes them feel heard, included in the meeting, and also is a nice transition and flow for you. I also loved the little theme, the Burr months, and you blew my mind because I never realized that those 3 months ended with Burr. I was flabbergasted. I think you never cease to amaze me, that's all. Phyllis, awesome thought of the day. I love those kinds of stories. With that story specifically with the empty boats is not one that I've heard. So that was an eye opener, and I do think that it can be appreciated whenever we don't necessarily have a joke of the day and are able to have some food for thought, if you will. Janine, fantastic job on the speech. It fed my soul and my brain. And just to piggyback on what you spoke about, it's true. We can all sing and we can all make happy noises in the form of laughter. That's what I was thinking about the entire time. And what a poetic way to make us realize that, yes, we are capable of singing, not necessarily being a singer or anything that is only going to put a label on that, if that makes sense. Table topics, what can I say? It's always a journey, it's always an adventure, especially whenever Ashley is in charge of coming up with the questions. Awesome, awesome questions. Thank you for taking us on a very cool, colorful, and crisp table topics journey. Melissa, I see what you mean with the fresh air, especially in the way that you describe it. Also, could you imagine if there was absolutely zero pollution in the air? How fresh and crisp that would be. Thomas, the scream in the beginning of your response was golden. I was convinced that you were going to take us on a comedic roller coaster, but it turned out to be a bit poetic. And keep speaking for the pumpkins, my friend. Tina, thank you for sharing the story of your treasured sweatshirts. I'll tell you what, the clothes that is made today surely is not how they used to make it. Can you believe that people are paying overpriced prices for jeans with holes in them? It's ridiculous. And finally, Kane, I appreciate your perspective on s'mores. You should post everything that you said into a unpopular opinion thread on social media and see how that turns out. And finally, Tony, awesome job on your evaluation, always consistent with your words of advice. Concise, clear, and charismatic is how I would describe you today, my friend. And with that, I conclude my evaluation for everything. I believe that we are doing a fantastic job, as we always do. And with that, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carlos. I deeply enjoy your kind heart and spirit. You add immense value to our club, and your authenticity is inspirational. Now let's hear final reports from our functionaries. We'll start with Melissa. How are our ahs and ums this evening?
Fairly well today, guys. Tony got 2 so's. Kim, you had 2 false starts at the very beginning of the meeting, but as soon as you got warmed up, there were nothing. You did great. Joe, I'm so proud of you. You had 1 teensy weensy false start and 2 so's. Only 2. Carlos, you had 2 uhs and a few unnecessary ands and alsos, but you had so many things to cover that I tend to excuse those connecting bridges that we like to use to help our thoughts flow. I believe that's it. If I missed somebody, oh, I had 2 so's. I missed me. I'm at the top of the list. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Melissa. And now let's move to Joe, the grammarian for this evening. How did we do with the word epitome?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. We had Kim. I liked that I never realized either that months that end with burr are cold months. So very clever. I don't know if you found that online or if you figured that out yourself, but very clever. And you used the word epitome one time. Janine said, I'm not gonna ask for a show of hands yet. And I thought that was really funny. She said epitome twice. And I liked earworm. Earworm referring to getting a song stuck in your head. I had never heard that before. And you said when you were listing out your list. You did say helps with moralization at the beginning and end of your list, but that's all I caught. I also liked Need I Go On? Melissa, I like Smells Like the Devil's Armpit. And Thomas, I liked For the Pumpkin Manatee. And the use of the word disemboweled. Ashley, your internet provided effective pauses, maybe too many though. So work. Tina, I liked the word perplexed. Kane, for what end? That was genius and showed great emotion, but s'mores are great snacks. Excuse you. And Tony, my friend, one use of and lastly, I'll report back because of verification. Thank you.
Payne, I'm with Joe. I think that s'mores are incredible, and I will happily eat marshmallows while you rake my leaves. Moving on to our last functionary. Sandy, how did we do with time this evening?
Obviously, multitasking is not my strength this evening. We did very well this evening. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Janine, your speech was 5 to 7 minutes. You came in at 6 minutes and 49 seconds, so you were within the time. For our table topics this evening, Melissa had 1 minute and 11 seconds. So the triple ones for you, Melissa. Thomas, your topics about the pumpkins, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Tina, in your cozy wear, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And Kane leaves their s'mores, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So all within time. Everybody's great in time this evening. Tony, your evaluation of Janine was 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And for our reports, Melissa, you were at 54 seconds. Joe, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Carlos, your GE report was 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And my timing report is 50 seconds. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sandy, and thanks to everyone in this club for giving me great purpose this evening. This wraps up my role for tonight. Thank you all for embracing the Burr months with me and learning that Burr is actually a time of year. Thank you for bringing your warmth and wit tonight. I will hand things over to Alicia, Madam Presiding Officer, to wrap up this evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Another round for Kim. Round of applause. Great job tonight, Kim. Great job. That was an awesome meeting. As always, you guys just bring it every week, and we have a lot of fun.